What would happen if you collapsed alone in the wild, surrounded by lions? Would they spare you or see you as their next meal? This story will change everything you think you know about the bond between humans and the wild. The sun blazed high over the savannah, relentless and unforgiving, casting a scorching heat upon the vast African landscape. Daniel, a seasoned ranger, trudged forward to the dry grass, sweat drenching his brow as he scanned the horizon for any signs of poachers. His rifle hung loosely across his back, a silent reminder of the mission at hand. His every step seemed to take more effort than the last. The recent reports of illegal traps set deep within the reserve had him on edge. These traps weren't just a threat to wildlife. They were a death sentence for the lions he had sworn to protect. As he walked, the ground beneath him cracked, dry and brittle. His throat felt like sandpaper, and each breath felt like inhaling fire. The journey had already been long, and the heat was beginning to take its toll on him. He noticed faint footprints ahead. Human tracks, not animal. Poachers. His pulse quickened. They were closer than he'd hoped. But the trek was taking its toll, and Daniel was barely able to focus on the task. His radio crackled but fell silent again, offering no comfort. He had no choice but to press on. As he continued, each step grew heavier, his body nearing its breaking point. His canteen was near empty. Every inch of his body screamed for rest. But he couldn't stop, not when the lives of the lions were at stake. Then he saw it, a rusted wire snare hanging from a tree branch, just like the kind used by poachers to trap lions. His heart pounded in his chest. The poachers had been here recently. He crouched, inspecting the ground for fresh tracks, but the dizziness hit him like a wave. His legs buckled beneath him, and his vision blurred. He needed to retreat. He tried to turn back, but his body failed him. His knees gave out, and he collapsed beneath the shade of an acacia tree. His breath came in shallow gasps as his vision faded to black. Alone, weak, vulnerable. A deep, guttural growl rumbled through the silence, snapping Daniel out of unconsciousness. He stirred, his body heavy and sluggish. His throat burned from dehydration. As his blurry vision began to clear, he saw the silhouettes of golden creatures moving around him. The figures were massive. A lion, a lioness, a cub. Fear gripped him, but his body refused to move. He knew he was vulnerable. If these lions decided to attack, there was no escape. He braced himself for the inevitable, sharp claws, crushing jaws. But nothing came. The lion, a massive male with a thick, dark mane, stepped closer to him. Its amber eyes locked onto Daniel's with an unsettling intensity. The lion sniffed the air and let out a soft huff, a sound almost like a sigh. The lioness, her muscles tense, did the same before sitting down beside her cub. They weren't hunting him. They weren't attacking him. They were guarding him. Confusion clouded Daniel's mind, but the exhaustion overwhelmed him. He drifted back into unconsciousness, his body at peace for the first time in hours. In the haze of his slumber, memories surfaced. A distant moment from years ago, deep in this very reserve. Daniel had been younger, newer to the ranger job, when he first encountered the desperate cries of a lion cub trapped in a poacher's wire snare. The cub had been tiny, terrified, its cries echoing in the air. The mother, a powerful lioness, paced nearby, her roars filled with anguish. Daniel knew the risk, but he couldn't leave the cub to suffer. His heart hammered as he carefully approached, hands raised in a sign of peace, his rifle slung over his back. The lioness growled, but she didn't charge. Daniel moved swiftly, his knife cutting through the harsh wire trap, freeing the cub. The moment it was free, it stumbled back toward its mother, who nuzzled it protectively. The lioness turned her gaze to Daniel, not with a look of aggression, but with understanding. A silent acknowledgement passed between them. A bond had been formed. Now, in the present, Daniel wondered if the massive male lion guarding him was that very same cub, now fully grown. Had the bond remained? Had it come full circle? As Daniel lay under the acacia tree, he noticed the hyenas creeping closer, their eerie giggles filling the air. Normally, he would have reached for his rifle, but he had no strength left. He didn't need to. The lion, whom Daniel had begun to think of as Kumo, rose, let out a low growl, and the hyenas slunk away, retreating into the tall grass. The message was clear. Daniel was being protected. Not just observed, protected. Hours passed. The sun began to dip lower on the horizon. Daniel could hear the distant calls of birds, the hum of insects in the heat of the evening. The pride remained nearby, silent, watchful. It wasn't just the lion Kumo who stood guard. The lioness, with her cub close by, had not moved. Daniel's mind drifted, filled with memories and reflections. The countless nights he had spent alone on patrol, the lonely hours under the scorching sun, the poacher traps he'd found and disabled. His role as protector of the reserve had always been about duty, about doing what was right. But now, with the lions watching over him, he realized that perhaps sometimes the wild had its own way of offering protection. Back at the ranger station, panic had begun to set in. Daniel had not checked in. Hours had turned into a day, and still there was no sign of him. Mark, Daniel's closest friend, organized a search party. Mark knew the risks. Poachers, the threat of dehydration, a predator attack. They set out at dawn, armed with rifles and tracking dogs. The search was grueling. The heat was relentless. They followed Daniel's trail, the disturbed grass and boot prints leading them forward, until they encountered the unmistakable tracks of lions. Mark's heart pounded as they approached. What had happened to Daniel? Was he alive? His team halted, unsure what to expect. And then they saw them, the lions, the pride. Kumo stood tall, his gaze unwavering as the rangers approached. Mark's breath caught in his throat. The lion did not growl. He didn't charge. He simply stepped aside, his golden eyes locked with Mark's as if silently granting permission. Mark's pulse raced as he dropped to his knees beside Daniel, checking for a pulse. It was weak but steady. Relief surged through him. Daniel was alive. The rangers carefully lifted Daniel onto a stretcher, but Mark couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary had just happened. Kumo stood, his eyes never leaving the group. He watched silently, unmovable, a sentinel in the wild. As the rangers carried Daniel back toward the vehicle, Mark glanced back once more. Kumo had not moved. He stood as he had before, watching them leave, a silent guardian. Days passed. Weeks. Daniel's recovery was slow, but he was alive. The bond between him and the lions remained in his heart, a constant reminder of the wild's mysterious ways. And as he healed, Daniel reflected on the unspoken trust that had formed between them. One evening, Daniel returned to the reserve. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the grass. He had come back to the place where it had all happened, and there, waiting, stood Kumo, alone on a rise. His golden mane swayed in the wind, and his amber eyes locked onto Daniel's. For a moment, neither moved. Neither spoke. Then Daniel raised a hand. Kumo blinked, and with that, the lion turned and disappeared into the grass. Some bonds cannot be spoken. Some guardians wear fur and fangs. And some stories are never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable wildlife journeys. Nature has a way of reminding us that sometimes the wildest hearts are the kindest.